That just kept going. We're just kind of remembering a few of those speeches. But that said, it was a terrific night with 157 people there. We honored a lot of our great history, heard some great talks, and learned a lot about people, which is the whole goal of this. You know, how we got here, I think around 2015, and maybe that'll help me here in a second, 2015 or 16, I was back coaching the football team. I was at a recycling center, and Ed Wilkins and I were both there breaking our wife's wine bottles, because we never touched a thing as coaches, you know. But I turned to Ed, I said, hey, wouldn't it be great to have like a Hall of Fame here for sports? And he says, yeah, that'd be a good idea. And then we just went about our business. And then when I came into this job in 2018, I was talking to Jerry Jasinski on the telephone as he was after me to change something on the track board. And I said, hey, I've been thinking about this Hall of Fame thing. What do you think of that? He says, oh, I'd love to get involved with that. So I called Ed. I said, I don't know if I remember this, but we talked about this once. So the first committee we got together was Jerry Jasinski, Ed Wilkins, and we needed a lady, very important for women's sports. And Jess Martin was the obvious choice to recruit right away. So the three of us, or the four of us with me in there, we would meet weekly at Jerry's kitchen table with his wife watching Wheel of Fortune in the other room. And we had some great talks, and we put a lot of effort in. And we didn't even attempt to get this off the ground until we really laid out a clear criteria what this is about. We studied why other Hall of Fames in high schools failed, why they worked, how we would do it, what would it mean here, how do we introduce it. And a big piece we felt was to get the school board to agree. It was part of the athletic director's job. Someday I move on and there's new athletic directors. It is in his job description that the Hall of Fame is his responsibility every year. So this thing should be going on for years. And we hope a lot of our athletes today, someday, are sitting out here getting honored, you know, like we're doing here today. So that's how we got to here. The last 4 years, the second year we were back at the high school. The third year was COVID, as I mentioned earlier, and we did that one totally online. It was Ed and Jessica and myself staying not 10 feet apart, but like 10 rooms apart. We were all over the school, and we just kept flipping this thing around. Okay, you take it now. We sat down half hour before we went live, and you know, came up with a game plan, and the thing went really well. And the fact that everybody that was being inducted, somebody came and spoke. So that was really a good night. Then the next year, we couldn't be back in the school yet because of COVID. So we decided to come here, and from then on, this is the only place we really want to come to. We get a little limited on space, but this is a good test tonight, and we've done well. And you guys have been great. As I said, we really appreciate that. All right. I do like to point out, I think I didn't point out our 4 senior girls out there serving you tonight. One is Kylie Nadeau, who's really a great leader in our building. She has a lot of energy and projects that. Cam Gramling, who's plays a few sports for us, a great soccer player for us, good softball player. And every one of these girls out there are 3-sport athletes for us. And then we have veterans in Meadow and Amelia Murchie, who's been here all 4 years we've been here. They've come back and worked for this banquet. And Graham and Graham can't figure out why, but you know what? We're thrilled they have, and now we gotta figure out how to get them home from college next year to do this. But we really appreciate their effort, and we really think they enjoy doing that. So, and while we're talking about our green and white people, we do like to take a moment every year in remembrance of maybe people we lost over the year, former athletes, and so forth. So we'll just take a minute for that. Great, thank you. And speaking of losing, we always, you know, I'm sure most people know that Jerry Jasinski passed away, but again, he's a big pat on the back for us because he really drove us to get this done. He worked hard on this, and so to his credit, you know, I would consider him more of a founder than I'll say that. we just had an idea, and he certainly had the workings to put the time in and kind of teach us how to do this to be accurate. All right, so we try to pick out folks in the crowd. I only see one Hall of Fame member here tonight, two maybe in a way, but Jeff Tactic, who's got second year, right, Jeff? Went in, and we like to mention the Chaffee family. They represented their sister Jean when she went in. That was second year too, right, with Jeff, if I remember right? Yep. There's a few other folks we generally would mention, but since they're getting inducted, we're just going to wait and do that then. Okay.
John Naronsky is also here.
Oh, John Naronsky's here? Where's John? I didn't see him. Sorry, John. It kind of reminds me of the night I was speaking, and we didn't think somebody was going to be there, and then I think it was Andy who yells out, "Hey, he's right here!" It's like, okay, great. Well, we have a committee meeting tomorrow and go over that. But it happens. But John, it's great to see you. John gave a nice talk a couple years ago and been very supportive of his project also. So it's great to see our folks come back to our members. And we've, over the years, people come from all over the country. I can remember a few years back, what was this? That name slipping me, but his sons came from Washington, D.C. and surprised him at the banquet. So we've had all kinds, people from Wyoming, people come from yeah, it was Blake, that's right, Ken Blake, right? Kurt Blake, right. And people come from Tahoe last year. So it's great to see our alumni take this so serious. Okay, I think one theme you're gonna see here tonight, and the committee kind of does this. In the beginning, it was the three of us. Over the years, we have people come and go. One person we lost, the committee, as far as in the committee, was Hugh Putman. The last few years was our historian, and Hugh was great to work with. We really enjoyed working with Hugh, but some illness set him aside. We were hoping maybe he could get here, but he was a big researcher for us, and particularly in his job out there. Nowadays, pretty much our chairperson, appointed by me, which she fought, but she's the chairperson, Jess Martin, and Joni Chaffee does the bulk of our research. I kind of come in last minute and sit down with them and we review and just kind of say, are we sure these are our finalists and where we want to be? And it's a process. They probably put in about 60 to 80 hours a year just researching. Everything we print about somebody has to be proven. And sometimes it's hard to find more stuff. And we used to try to squeeze this on a little plaque that went in the wall. With the new system, we can put a lot more in the bio. But it's a lot of work. We're looking for maybe another committee member to help out. But the research that goes with this and the stuff we learn along the way often leads to other folks that we decide we should be looking closer at. It also led to things like, if you read in the program tonight, about the green tornado. It's like, that was our first school, I don't think you call it tornado mascot, was our first nickname back in the 30s. And that carried over, but that's an there, take a minute and look at that, and I've researched that pretty good, and if, on the side, I'd be happy to talk to anybody about that. A lot of our kids would like the green tornado, but we're pretty married to Cosmos at this point, and that's our history. You also notice tonight, as we go through this, and maybe not so much in the names, because they probably have changed, there's a lot of family ties that were put together tonight. So, as an examples, and McAllister family, obviously we have Chelsea going in as an individual inductee. Her brother played on the 2009 soccer team. To the Richards family, we have Dave, obviously. We have Julie, who was on the cheer team, Dave's sister. And then we have their son, who played on the 2009 soccer team. So quite a tie there for everybody. All right, and then of course, on the cheer side, Sherry Wyman, depending on what year she was coaching, and her son, Cody, mother and son. I'll touch on them real quick, since neither are here. Maybe most know Cody is an assistant coach with Marquette. college basketball. They played in New York City last night in the Big East tournament. They were fully hoping we'd have a screen on tonight. We could watch the game while we did this, but they didn't get to the finals. But Cody has to travel with that team, so he could not come, and we didn't expect him this year. And of course, you know where mom and dad are. They're down there getting to see Cody while he's close to home. So they're a credit, and you know, big family supporters. We're happy to see them there, and we have that all arranged, hearing their words. Okay, so to get going here, we try to follow our agenda pretty good. Our speakers do a pretty good job of getting off stage. We try to leave some room, and if we're going good, and it's a good story, we leave it alone. If it's not so good, I'll stand up and start walking towards you, and you'll get the message. You got to work on it. All right. All right. So anyhow, the first group we're putting in tonight is our 82 cheer team. A little back history on this, and it goes with why we do research. So in 1981, the cheer team, there's a banner that is up here. 81, 82, 83, 3 years straight, our cheer teams are state champions. And it got intriguing to us because we thought, well, if Sherry coached 2 of those teams, she didn't coach 81 and we missed it, and she did not. Then the process gets even deeper. You know, as many folks here know, in the 70s, 80s, you know, and before then, women's sports were kind of looked down on, unfortunately. They came in stronger in the 80s or 90s and 2000s, and nowadays, you know, they don't miss a beat with the boys. But in 1982, this team won the Southern Vermont Championship in cheer, and the only team to do this, I think, until 85, and they also won the state championship. But at that time, Vermont was known as the Headmasters, but the Headmasters did not support cheer then. It was done by the Vermont Coaches Association, and they gave out the state championships, which is great. They're still state champions. But I think when I come back to 83, I'll explain what happened there, how that changed the next year. But in 1982, it was Sherry Wyman who told me she was more interested in getting married that year than so much getting through the cheer. But we had a good chat, and she was very informative. And she really wanted to be here tonight. I'll be honest with you. She really apologized. She felt, well, when we started this some years back, she was so on this, and now she sees, you know, how great this is and how people get into it. So I'm sure we'll get her more involved, I hope, with that history that she carries around, certainly family history. So speaking for Sherry, Coach Wyman at the time, is going to be the captain, Julie Brady. So we'll get Julie here.
So I'm Julie Richards. I was on the 1983 squad, and Sherry asked me if I would read her remarks for her. She's very sad she couldn't be here, but Bailey was first. First, I'd like to say a huge thank you to the members of both squads that are in person tonight to accept this honor. It means a lot to me personally and to the others that couldn't be here. And to those that are speaking tonight, I want to thank you publicly for your excitement and enthusiasm since we first received our letters of induction. It's very much the same excitement and enthusiasm I remember back all those years ago from all of you, which is why we're here tonight. It is no understatement to say, speaking for both teams, that we were all surprised and humbled to learn that we had been chosen to be inducted into the SHS Athletic Hall of Fame. There is a high level of talent and athletic accomplishments in past inductees, and in this class, we are truly grateful and honored. I want to thank the committee, Rich, Joni, and Jess, for seriously considering both of these teams and researching into the history to these back to the Vermont Large School State Championships and the significance behind them. Reflecting back, there is no doubt that the 1982 and 1983 cheerleading squads are worthy of this honor. Both of these teams were made up of talented athletes who performed near-perfect cheers and a dance routine engaging the huge crowds that came to support us and impressed the judges in both Southern and state competitions. My husband, Mike, who many of you know has been part of numerous high-stress athletic events, was there for both. He reminded me recently of the excitement and intensity in the gym, the anticipation of hearing the winners announced from 4th place to 1st, and hearing Springfield High School. It's still a goosebumps moment. Our crowd, in one newspaper article, described as the largest and by far the loudest, and that was really important to us. It was like our home game and our home crowd. It was a great feeling, and we no doubt felt that, and it helped bring home the state titles with very strong competition. Our voice projection and eye contact, degree of difficulty, and near perfect execution, along with our energy and poise under pressure, were, well, obviously the best. Not just 1 year, but 2 in a row, back to back. As it's known in the sports world at the time, when cheerleading was more structured, earning respect and becoming recognized by high schools as a worthwhile activity for its students. With that recognition came financial support for team needs like uniforms, travel expense, help, and understanding that this sport would need coaches rather than what in many cases previously was known as chaperones or advisors. Overall, it was a fun time to be a cheerleader in Springfield and in Vermont. With that said, these 19 cheerleaders did not try out for these squads with plans or focus of any kind of competition victory. They were all proud and honored to cheer for our Cosmos sports, whether it was football, soccer, or basketball. That was our mission and our focus, while cheering was about crowd engagement, loud voices, painting signs, and pep. Do you remember that word? Cheering for the green and white to score when we were on offense and to stop that other team when we were on defense. We prided ourselves on knowing what was going on with the games and to understand the actions of these sports. They all took pride in the role of cheerleader in the purest sense. On behalf of myself and my members of my teams, I would like to congratulate the other 25 inductees. There are a lot of family connections in this year's class, and I'm picturing a room filled with lots of families and friends of all the new Hall of Famers. But there's one in particular, and that is our son Cody. I am so proud and honored to be connected to him through the Springfield High School Hall of Fame tonight. I'd like to offer him special congratulations. At this time, I'd like to introduce the captains of the 1982 Vermont State Championship squad, Marcia Hadley and Penny Marshall.
Which side did you want to be on?
I don't care.
No, this morning, which side were you good with that?
Come on down, ladies.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you all for coming tonight to support all of us here that are being inducted into the SHS Athletics Hall of Fame. We extend our congratulations to all of tonight's recipients and are grateful to be included among them. We, the 1982 Varsity Cheerleading Squad, stand in front of you tonight as a team and as friends, honored and truly excited to have been nominated. The person that nominated us has asked to remain anonymous. We thank that person very much. We'd like to introduce our 1982 squad using our last names when at SHS. I'm Marcia Hadley, this is Penny Marshall, Suzanne Hopkins, Sherry Lloyd, Kim Blaze, Lisa Larrabee, and Amy Chevalier. There are 3 of us who couldn't be with us this evening. Beth Kloeb, who lives in the state of Washington, Robert Richardson, who lives in Ireland, and Liz Campbell, who lives in Virginia. Penny and I, as captains, had the pleasure of calling each squad member to let them know of our nomination. It was fun doing so and hearing their responses. That's cool, exciting news. It was fun wow, no way. Are you serious? Amazing. Wow, that's crazy. What? So cool. You're kidding me. Wow, that's a surprise and wonderful news. I've been to a few of these banquets, Hall of Fame banquets, and I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be up here inducted, and what better way when these friends beside me here tonight of our 1982 cheerleading squad.
We would like to thank our coach, Sherry Wyman-Hatt, for being there for us. We were honored by her efforts. She began coaching us the winter of 1982. At that time, Sherry was a senior in college, planning her wedding for that upcoming June, and coaching our team all at the same time. We greatly appreciate her doing so. In 1982, the state of Vermont had decided to recognize cheerleading as a varsity sport. Our squad placed first in the Southern Tourney and then went to Castleton State College for the state competition. There we became the 1982 Vermont State Cheerleading Champions.
It's been fun looking back at the newspaper articles and pictures from that time of winning the state tourney and our state championship win. An article in newspaper read, "It was a packed house. The big green was near perfect in 2 cheers, and their dance routine to Breaking Away must have been perfect as it brought down the house." Another article said, "Coach Wyman and her terrific bunch of girls who worked so hard at athletic events, urging the big green on to great victories, they now have a victory of their own." And one more article stated, "It was said that the state cheering competition was a demonstration of why cheerleading is worthy of varsity sports status. The cheerleaders illustrated the work that goes into today's cheering, the acrobatics, the choreography, the athletic timing. A lot more than just shouting loudly. The cheerleaders shook the rafters with enthusiasm. If the raw energy of Saturday's squads could have been harnessed, no one would worry about future power sources. Those cheering athletes had enough energy to light the entire state of Vermont."
Our squad worked well as a team. Most of us had cheered for 3 consecutive seasons together. Prior to the 1982 win, we had won the Southern Vermont Tourney and the Vermont State Cheering Competition the year before as well. All 10 of us on this 1982 squad became very close and formed great friendships, many that have lasted a lifetime. During the fall season, we would typically cheer at 3 games a week, both for soccer and for football. There were times we'd be cheering in the cold, the rain, and even, yes, the snow. In the winter, we were busy with basketball games every Tuesday and Friday nights, all the while practicing for games and competitions. Cheering came first to us. Often our practices were in the front lobby of the high school, sometimes even the hallways. Rarely was there room enough for us in the gymnasium to practice. Besides games and practices, we'd make hoop signs for the fall's team to run through and organized and led pep rallies. Once we even cheered at a track meet and at the Cosmo Field Hockey 1981 Vermont State Championship game. We were given the honor to cheer at a Alhambra basketball game and to cheer another honor at the Vermont, New Hampshire Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl football game and to walk in the Shrine Parade.
We as a squad made up many of our own cheers and choreographed our own dance routines for competitions. We built amazing pyramids, climbing almost 5 people high a lot of times. We developed a strong sense of camaraderie amongst ourselves and had spirit and sportsmanship. We cheered with pep and enthusiasm for our teams, whether winning or losing, and did our best to keep fans involved. We were always dedicated, hardworking, and loyal to our teams and fans. Most of all, we always had fun.
We had great support at our games and at our competitions from the crowd, our families, friends, and fellow students. We had huge bonfires at pep rallies. Some of you may even remember one pep rally when we had a snake dance that began at Riverside Middle School. The snake dance crossed over the bridge, went through both doors at McDonald's restaurant, and ended up in the plaza. Boy, those managers at McDonald's sure must have been mad at us. There was so much participation, a great time was had by all. We enjoyed being cheerleaders and took pride in being a Cosmos.
In closing, I'd like to read a poem I found when looking at my cheerleading memorabilia. My mother typed it and gave it to me. I'm not sure if she wrote it or she copied it, but it really sums up what it meant to be a cheerleader. A cheerleader is a guiding star who shines forever proud. For her smiles and personality must always lead the crowd. Her heart is filled with laughter, love and unity reign supreme. Getting the crowd to participate is her goal and ultimate dream.
Again, we thank you for this honor, and now we'd like to present to you the 1983 SHS Cheerleading Squad.
Great job, what's great about being live. That was a great job, thank you. So we have gifts for everyone that we're just asking this year, you pick them up after we're done, it just keeps things going. And plaques that everybody receives. And Jess and I just looked at each other about some of those things you said and said, did you know that? I didn't know that. So that was great, and that's what we're talking about, how we learn things on the fly. All right, so in 1983, we found this great article in 82, we'll appreciate this, written by Tim Brown in the Bennington Banner, saying how Mount Anthony was thrilled to beat Springfield this year in the Southern Vermont Championships. So you got that in your feather in your cap too, that they weren't too happy with you guys the year before. Okay, then he went up and beat them, we got them back anyhow that year. So 1983, it was the first year that the headmasters, and then it was Vermont headmasters, not the VPA, recognized cheer as a sport. And in that same article, it talks about a few members voted against it because they felt that the cheerleaders did a good job raising their own funds and getting their own stuff, as you just heard about. And why would they not leave that alone? And that cheer coaches are not the same as a regular coach. They shouldn't make the same money and be treated the same. It's like pretty crazy stuff to read. And but they're at the Athletic Standards Committee, if it was that then, voted no, cheer is gonna become a regular program. So in '83, why headmasters took time to honor cheerleaders as they should be honored, when it came to the state tournament, it was still handled by the Vermont Cheerleading Coach Association. So they got halfway home, but that was pretty good that they got somewhere, and from that point on, cheer obviously grew more across the board. So that was kind of a cool thing to read when we found that. And it just shows how respect has grown over the years, how bad it was that the state's ready to say, hey, they raise their own money pretty good, why would we step on their toes? Which is unfortunate. But as an athletic director, in the price of things, boy, if you raised your own money, I probably would like you too. but we worked that out, it's all good. All right, so 1983 cheer team. So as everybody knows, another state championship team. So I'll say Julie Richards and Amy Chevalier is here, captains of that team, and they'll speak to that team.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks to the committee for this incredible honor for inducting the 1983 cheerleading squad into the Athletic Hall of Fame. It is a privilege to stand here today, and we are so grateful that our team is being recognized for the hard work and dedication we shared as a team. It is something that we never expected and is a moment that we always cherish. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the heart and soul of our success our coach, Sherry Wyman, had. Coach Sherry's leadership, mentoring, and unwavering dedication were instrumental in bringing us together and leading us through countless challenges. Under her guidance and passion for excellence, we not only worked hard and stayed focused, but we also learned to trust each other, push past our limits, and achieve what we once thought was impossible, a state championship. Our team was made up of a special group of women: my co-captain, Lisa Zielinski, Julie Richards, Heather Gowan, Bev Bauer, Tammy Greer, Jill Tracy, Debbie Tracy, and Chris Johnson. I cannot fully express the gratitude that I have for each of these incredible ladies and to have been part of this team. Each of these women brought something unique to the floor, and together we created something that was bigger than just cheerleading. We became a sisterhood. People often think of cheerleading as just jumping around, doing kicks, splits, and shouting loud. However, there's so much more to it than that. What is not seen from the outside is the intense pressure and the work that was relentless. We practiced every weekday for hours, striving to achieve perfection in every cheer, every routine, and every stunt. Yes, perfection was needed and important. The prize was always in sight to win the championship. And yes, can we talk about those coveted jackets? But even more important was our role in supporting the basketball and the football teams. We were there to lift their spirits, to read the game, to assess the players, sometimes even the crowd, and then we had to adjust our energy and chants to match the flow of the game. It wasn't just about us. Sorry. It was the whole atmosphere. We were creating an environment of energy, enthusiasm, and excitement that would lift the spirits of everyone in the stands or on the fields. To do that, we needed more than just enthusiasms. We had to understand the game, the referees, know the timing of the timeouts, the rhythms of each quarter and halftime, and even the rules of the game. Every game and every play were unique, so every cheer that we chose and performed had to also be unique. Whether it was a quick pep talk, a high-energy chant, or a synchronized routine, we had to stay on our toes, adjust on a dime, and keep the energy high. It wasn't easy, but it was something we all took pride in. We were creating a dynamic and fun atmosphere while staying in tune with what the team needed from us. And let's not forget the challenging of performing in those saddle shoes. They were not a walk in the park. They were slippery, uncomfortable, and brought a challenge when building the pyramids. However, no matter how tough it got, we worked together as a unit, always stayed focused on the bigger picture. We learned to work together, each one of us playing the integral role, and we did it with a sense of fun and joy that became the hallmark of our squad. Our teamwork was seamless, thanks to the guidance of Coach Sherry, who taught us the importance of unity, precision, bringing our very best and supporting each other through every challenge. It wasn't just about cheerleading. We also were all juggling and balancing schoolwork, extracurricular activities, and all of the responsibilities that came with being a high school student. From homework, the yearbook, National Honor Society, college applications, the school play, Apple Blossom, Junior Miss. We did it all on top of the grueling practice and games. And remember the fun nights of trying to do homework on a cold, noisy, dark school bus after a long day. When we competed, we were judged on every detail: strength, precision, unity, creativity, energy, voice control, execution, personal appearance, and even our smiles. The pyramids we built had to be safe, high, and strong. They had to be stable enough to withstand the pressure of the performance. It wasn't just about looking good. It was about perfecting every element to the highest standard. Again, perfection was the name of our game. One of the most amazing things about our journey was the support that we received from our school, the players of the football team, the basketball teams, our parents, even the school alumni. They were there cheering us on at the championships, and they made the victory even sweeter. It was a reminder that our success was not about what we did on the field. It was about the community that we had built together. Looking back, I can now recognize the values that Coach Sherry instilled in us. Values that were woven into every practice, every correction, and every moment that we spent together. The work ethic, the discipline, the determination, and the perseverance she taught us has stayed with me throughout my life and my career. Those lessons shaped me into who I am today, and I am forever grateful for them. I would like to take just a moment to extend a very special thank you to my mom, Sheila Chevalier. She not only supported me, but also the team. Her love to help preserve the photographs, newspaper articles, and all of the other cherished pieces that are often thrown away and forgotten. These memories not just from a past accomplishment, they are cherished moments that I hold dearly in my heart. I want to say thank you again on behalf of the 1993 cheerleading squad. I want to say thank you for this incredible honor and all who made this recognition possible. We will forever remember the hard work, the friendships, and the championship that we earned together. Thank you.
I got one quick, so as many of you know, Sherry's husband and I spent a lot of years together on fields. And we were probably a handful to deal with. And one day I said to her, why do smart women like you and my wife stay with guys like us? And she shot right back, well, we're clingers. Well, they have both clung for over 40 years each, and I'm certainly glad mine did, and I'm sure Mike's glad that she did too. We had tougher leadership at home than we gave on the field. So Sherry was great, and she certainly came from a household that had some strong leadership too. So congratulations to all those folks. Next up, I got thinking this morning like what to say about this group. I'll say this, there was a little error there if you think about it, starting in fall of 2008, going to winter of 2009, going to the fall of the winter of 2008-9, right? Then going to the fall of 2009, where we put 3 state championships on the board. So this team kind of, completed a pretty good run for us. And their coach, Paul Kendo, who is not here tonight, apparently vacation is a little more important than what we're doing. Like that, yeah. No, actually, so Paul sat in my office the other day, we had a good chat. And, sometimes we try to get this out soon enough before plans are made by other folks. And unfortunately, he couldn't. And I know some of the cheerleaders from '83 was on that vacation. So hopefully that's going well for them. But he did his job, he got the team here, and that's what it's about. It's about the athletes, not always about the coaches. And anybody that coached will tell you that. So it's a part of a special group, I think. Actually out of that group comes our current high school coach, and that's Derek Graham, who had a great year last year for us and did a good job. That's where it stops, Derek. Don't come back to me for anything this year. To talk about this team will be the coaches, Dave Churchill and Corey Sinek.
Hi, thanks, Rich. It's a great honor to be inducted here. Our team, Paul was extremely excited, but Eileen won. That's what it comes down to. This was their retirement, his first real vacation since he retired, so he was very excited about it. Corey is going to read Paul's words, and believe me, they're important words. He spent a lot of time working on this, so pretend that he's Paul. But Corey had just graduated college and asked Paul if he could help out, and it turned out he was
Thank you all of you for putting this event together to allow us to celebrate and recall such wonderful memories. I apologize for not being present this evening, especially to my boys. I'm away with Eileen, my beautiful wife, who supported and put up with my coaching and moods all those many years. She won this time around. Sorry, guys. Let me begin by saying that the senior graduating class of 2009 was clearly the best team I ever coached. They were mature, respectful, and stacked with tremendous skill out on the soccer pitch. Pause. Oh, shh. At least we thought so back in the day until we fumbled and lost in the 2008 first round of the playoffs. We lost 4 All-State players to graduation. We lost 2 strikers, a key defender, and our keeper. But it was the senior graduating class of 2010, the fall soccer team of 2009, that would ultimately prove to everyone that they were the best by going 15-2 and winning the Vermont Division II State Soccer Championship. How did we do it? How was this even possible? It was with dedication, team chemistry, and a great deal of effort along the way. We had our first captain's meeting on January 13th, 2009. Captains Ryan Brady, Angelo Giardina, and John Kendall became a solid force that day, discussing and working together to set their goals for the year. Stay focused, communicate well, improve speed of play, and bring the younger players along. There's 8 pages. It was 15 pages, I think, maybe partly Paul. Can't be doing that. Time Zappa's here. Red dot. They played indoor soccer throughout the winter, Springfield Soccer Club in the spring, and then joined the New Hampshire Soccer League in the summer, where they went 9-4-1 against teams like Fall Mountain and Lebanon. Then it was off to the preseason camp, Teelawuket, to play against some premier teams such as Hanover and Colchester, where we played hard, laughed out loud in the pitch at Derek Osborne, and bonded as a team. No inside joke. As many of you know, as a coach, our emotions and passion for the game is usually up and down and all over the place. Well, as the boys could tell you, I was quiet, compassionate, and loving all the time. Not. This is why you should always have an assistant coach. Coach Churchill was Paul's rock. Every time Paul yelled, every time he was stuck, not knowing what to do, get away from the half-field line, he would say, "Coach, you ripped into him. Cody, John, Joe. A little too hard today. You should probably call them tonight, make sure things are cool." So he would. Coach Churchill had that ability to get the right subs in at the right time, and he saw the things that no one else saw, not even Paul. He was the reason we put James back in that center defense with Angelo, and it sure paid off, especially in the playoffs. And we sure couldn't have had the year without the help of Coach Corey Sinnett. He had the ability to get along with every kid in our program. And he was always there to push the boys, run with the boys, and care for the boys. And I also added late for the bus a few times. I'm getting better. And I need to mention our team manager, Tyler Putnam, who traveled with us and kept our books and added to the fun and unity of our team. There he is. Get your hand up. But I can tell you honestly, you cannot build a championship program without the help and support of the athletic director. Coach Hatt, you were amazing. With all that you did in your own coaching and running the football program, you never stopped caring and supporting for Paul and our boys soccer program. Every step of the way, we are grateful for you. Thank you. This is where it gets a little dry for some of you that might not be in the soccer world, but you all will get it. We started the season going 7-0, then lost to BBA, won the next 3, lost to Division I Hartford, then won our last 5 games with a total team effort. We finished our season 15-2. We scored 42 goals and had 11 shutouts on the season. Yeah, all right. Top scorers were John Kendall with 16 goals, Derek Graham with 9, Ryan Brady with 5. Our defense was tough, held together by our solid, steady Angelo Giardina, James Karkowski, and juniors Joey Nkuda and Ethan McAllister. a lot of credit goes out to our phenomenal keeper, Jordan Fenning. May God bless him. I was the goalkeeper coach and had an amazing opportunity to work with Jordan. And the first thing I said to him when we worked together was, you have to be okay with getting hit directly in the face with a soccer ball and the other 10 in front of you failing you miserably. So, and he was like, yep, I'm ready, let's go. I was like, all right, that feels great. It's the best feeling to have a goalkeeper like that when you're a coach. We're not quite sure when this started or how it came about, but Jordan, I think it was through our playoff run, I don't know if it's the whole season, but brought this to practice one day and it just stayed with us. And so this is an absolute gem for Springfield High School to have. So Preston, thank you so much. This is amazing. So this is going to be donated, right, Preston, to Springfield High School. This should be right there in the front and center. That's heavy. Jordan. Jordan was tough, scrappy, unafraid of anybody and anything that was tossed anywhere near his goal. At one point in the season, I remember he was sore and beat up, and yet I looked over and he is at the JV practice with me because he was so pumped up. I'd also like to give credit where credit is truly deserved, and that is to all the other boys on the team. It was you who, whether you started or came off the bench, it was you who showed up and battled every day, busting your butts, sprinting, fighting, and playing against the starters. Thank you, Eric Bolivong. Thank you, Derek Osborne. Thank you, John Herrera. Thank you, Michael Pianca. And thank you, Ben Sidler. Thank you, Cody Filkins, Colin Brady, Jake Sargent, Tom Kendall, and Mikey Whittemore. All right, the playoffs. We were seeded number 1, but I can tell you that no one around the state respected us. A team from the south, because traditionally the northern teams always beat up on the southern teams, but not us boys. First game was Montpelier, always strong, coached very well, and physical. But we never backed down, we outplayed them, we were physical and yet kept composed. With 6:48 left on the clock, senior Derek Graham slipped the one into the bottom right corner, assisted by Michael Pianca. Cosmos move on. Semifinals, U32. Another solid team with an outstanding coach. It was an uneven match until U32 scored. It was an even match until U32 scored at the 23 mark in the first half. But just 2 minutes later, Springfield won, getting the equalizer by Derek Graham, put a nice through ball to the top of the box where John Kendall blew a beautiful ball into the left corner just inside the post, all tied up. The game would remain tied throughout the rest of the second half, and then 2 overtimes. We would go to penalty kicks, best of 5. The Cosmos would be prepared as we had practiced PKs almost every day at the end of practices on Gurney Field into the dark, no lights. U32 would make their first, followed by John Kendall with a perfectly placed ball, 1-1. And then it happened. Goalkeeper Jordan Fenning watched as the U32 player lined up his feet for his PK. Jordan dove to his right, boom, saved the PK. And the Cosmos fans went wild. Then one by one, all 4 of our players would make their PKs. Ryan Brady, Derek Osborne, Ethan McAllister, James Karkowski. As mentioned by the U32 coach after the game, those were not lucky shots. Those kids knew what they were doing. We advanced to the finals. State finals, Missisquoi. Missisquoi was a D1 school who then moved on down to D2 that year. They played mostly a D1 schedule. They were big and they were physical, played a direct game. They push you out of the way and kick it down into the box. We were the more passing possession squad. As the game went on and there was no scoring, our D of Jardina, Karkowski, and Kuda, and McAllister held tight, and Fenning kept his focus back in the net. Our fitness levels seemed to get stronger as the game went on. 0-0 at half, 0-0 at the end of the regulation, then into our first overtime. It was in overtime that we really started to press and have success. We had 4 corners in the first overtime. Then last one, a beautiful ball from John Kendall to the far post where Derek Graham got his head on it and scored. But then there's a whistle. Womp womp. No goal. It was the first and only time in all of Paul's coaching that a referee had called the corner kick out of bounds, because referees, we got good eyes, saying it curved out and then went back into the field. Still 0-0 and on to the second overtime. The Cosmos would once again go on the offensive and get another corner, this time off of Missisquoi player and out. Another corner, and this one would pay off. John Kendall lofted the corner to Derek Graham's head again, and as it skipped off Derek's head, it was run down by speedy Michael Pianka, who headed it back into the middle of the box. It was there that Brian Brady fought to get the ball and tuck it home to win it for the Cosmos. Victorious at last. I would like to end the talk by reading a few notes from the point in the season where we had just lost to Hartford, and so we were 10-2 with 2 games left in the regular season. Paul was so upset we lost to rival Hartford. He started writing in a notebook. I think this is where Eileen said it. You need to go write something. I would like to share what Paul wrote. And yes, if I was there with you boys, this is where he would start fumbling with his words, dropping papers, and start to cry.
Yeah, the old,
That is pretty good, I don't know. Johnny, was that good? If you're watching, Paul. This is what Paul wrote. Why do I coach? What am I here for? What is my purpose? Is it to win a state championship or to teach a kid manners? To see to it that a player has food at night. To help a child be nice to his parents. To help them care about and get good grades. To teach some soccer skills. To demand and get respect. To watch my captains grow together as leaders. To get the boys involved in doing good deeds and community service. To care for, to love these great young men. To influence change, make better a young man's life. I was blessed that year to be fortunate to get both. Thank you, gentlemen, for believing in Paul, Coach Dave, and myself, and believing, most importantly, in yourselves. Coach Kendall. Oh, we're going to introduce the team now.
okay, yeah.
Do that.
Make sure I got it in here. Okay. Do you guys want to come up, or you just want to stand up?
Yeah, come on up. Yeah, come up. Right here. Gotta get a photo op for Sapa.
Okay. Who's the first guy right here in the blue shirt? Oh, Jim. Wow. Got to make sure I get this right. First of all, we have Jake Sargent, Michael Pianka.
Hold that. Pass it down.
Yeah, pass it down. Ethan McAllister, Michael Arrere, Joanne Kuda, Derek Graham, Tyler, the guy who scored the goal, no, Ryan Brady, John Kendall, and of course, the Cody Philkins.
Jordan Fenning. Jordan Fenning.
And Jordan Fenning, represented by his dad.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. It was it was definitely the best season of my life, and whether playing or coaching, it was a special season. So something to remember. If you look at his list that he talked about, I really didn't, when I read this earlier, he sent this to me a couple different times. But you guys are all men now. Some of you are fathers, husbands, boyfriends. All those things he listed off, it looks like it paid off. It really does. Thanks again, Coach Ken.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jess Martin. I am the committee chair for the Athletics Hall of Fame. And I get the honor of telling you we're going to have a 10-minute break. The bar is open. And what I would ask is that I'd like to get the teams their gift bags and their certificate things. So during the break, let's go ahead and get that so then we don't forget anybody at the end, okay? So about 10 minutes, and if any of you know me, I mean 10 minutes. That's right, Andy's pointing at his watch, yes. Yep. So cheerleading, you want to come up?
Look at that. That's cool. Different time. I shut it off.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
2009 soccer, if you want to come on up and I can give you guys your goodies. Okay, shut it off.
Yeah, we had a JV soccer. Just not, I don't know. We ended up playing like a lot of Come on, baby. I need people to play.
Preston left, but I'm really good friends with him. I'll go bring it to his house. Yep. He had just barely left his emotional situation. Oh yeah, he did. Yep. Yep. I'll make sure he gets it.
Four or five is going to come early tomorrow. Thank you very much. No, I need this. Yeah, you got this. Would you be surprised if I told you to carry on the done? No, I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Well, within a month. Yeah, well, we love it. He is. This year I don't know. Right. Or whatever. Put him on the candy. Come out around. Mine's blue. Mine's right. Mine's black. So when we were there for an offense, a lot of people do that. They put the fluorescent tape on. No. I use that. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta pick up tables too.
You got about 4 minutes.
Karaoke. Right here. We're gonna do it right here. We're not bashful.
Sorry. It went off? Say, smiles, Carrie. One more. How many did you take?
I don't know, I'm not good at this. You know.
Oh yeah. I like that. Yeah, that'll work all right. Yeah.
All right. Be sure to send that to me sometime.
Oh yeah.
Print it off.
You guys have about 3.5 minutes.
40.
I sent it to Sharon. I haven't seen some people. Well, I got Roger Lavoie. I haven't seen Roger before. Standing up right
Oh,
here.
that's it. That was him. Yeah. Okay. Somebody asked. Jeff Taft was asking me. That was a Lavoie.
Yeah, that's Roger. I went to graduating school.
And John's his dad.
Timmy Walls down
There we go.
Saw him.
Of course, the Kindles are late.
John, I haven't seen John for a long time.
Are you going to see your dad?
Yeah.
You want to give him his plaque?
Then I could probably take my brother Tom's back, if that's easy for you.
Good to have the clan here celebrating.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked out. Missing one. But Devin wouldn't have been happy anyway. You can't keep that one down. Deshaun.
Oh, it's definitely easier doing it that way.
Thank you so much.
Oh, come on.
Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Good job.
Good. Thank you. How many pages? There's like 6 pages. Okay.
I didn't want to be the one.
I like it. Oh, yeah.
I told him 3.5. But I lied. I got 4. Got him? Yep.
Hey there, how you doing? Good to see you, buddy. Richard, I talk to you all the time. I know. Last week it was Tyler.
They're lucky sitting over here.
I said to Kristen, I said, your green lights aren't twinkling. She never turned them on. But I was trying to be like the father-in-law in Christmas Vacation where they're all standing out front.
Oh, yeah.
He says, your lights aren't twinkling, Clark.
Well, that's not because of him. So, Simon,
Yes, Chris. Yes, Joan.
Brother? Brother.
Okay, we're going to get started here. I'm going to be a teacher. Thank you to all of those who are sitting down in their seats as we are about to begin again. Thank you, Michael. The next section of our induction banquet really focuses on the individual achievements of our honorees this evening. And Rich and I run things a little bit different. He is and I'm very structured. So we work very well together because he can just go off on the seat of his pants and I just can't do that. But he kind of sold the committee short. He didn't include himself. And Rich does an incredible amount of work to honor each year's class. Let's give it up for Rich Sapal. And Joan Chaffee, who loves to talk, she has been an absolute tremendous help, particularly this last year when Hugh had to step down from the committee and doing the research. And I mean, Rich kind of talked about that a little bit. It takes hours to go through decades of information. Sometimes our nominees are not super forthcoming with information. And sometimes they choose to really not want to be inducted. We convinced one guy this year to change his mind. But not only are the girls' sports in high school really until the 1980s did not start to get a lot of recognition, but also some of the what you would call minor boys' sports. And our first inductee, Dave Richards, cross-country skiing and golf really was not super covered in the press. It was covered a little bit in the Greenhorn. It was in the yearbooks. So coming across a lot of information on a tremendously successful high school and collegiate student athlete, it took us a little bit of work to get there, but Dave, we did it. He was a standout on the soccer pitch, the Nordic, that's cross country, skiing trails, and on the golf course. During his senior year at Springfield High School, he was named captain of all three sports. In 1976, Richards was named Boys Soccer Marble Valley team captain and earned the MVL champion title. Dave really stood out on the Nordic ski trails with distances including 5K, 10K, and 15K. And let me just talk about this for a second. I was on the cross-country ski team my freshman year, and Coach Hilliard was our coach. It's hard. It's very hard. You're cold. And the really good ones, they just whiz through the course. But we only did 5K. I can't imagine 10 or 15K. So that's really an accomplishment. In 1975, Dave was a Vermont Boys State Champion runner-up, but took home the championship title in the 5K, both 76 and 77. Upon his graduation from SHS, he attended Williams College and was a three-time D1 NCAA championship qualifier. Dave graduated in 1981 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science. Please help me welcome Dave Richards.
So I understand the record is 47 minutes for a speech. And this little paper, I'm going for an hour. So lock in. No, seriously, it's a complete pleasure to be here and an honor to join a bunch of people that I knew very, very well who were already inducted. Gene Chaffee, was it Coach Kendall who gets emotional? Or maybe. Well, I may be with him, so again, I'll apologize in advance. But it's a complete honor to be here and to talk. I'm probably going to speak less about myself, maybe, and more about kind of Springfield, because I feel incredibly lucky to have been in school here. So a couple kind of stories, quite frankly. So when we moved to town in '62, Dad took a job as a lawyer with Mr. John Parker in Palmer, Ainsworth. And so he was very excited to be joining the firm, and the added benefit was literally the school system. So back then, and probably most of the people here know one of the physics teachers who was here forever, named Don Tiernan. So some of these facts come from Don, but Don was a close friend my whole life. And he would visit me down in Virginia, and we stayed friends. And we talked about the school a lot. And when Don got his PhD in physics, and I'm going to get the years wrong, but I'll be directionally correct, sometime in the 50s, he got his PhD. He didn't want to teach at university. He wanted to teach at the high school level. So he started looking at school systems. And in the 50s, the top two school systems east of the Mississippi were Scarsdale, New York, and Springfield, Vermont. So if you know where Scarsdale, New York is, it's in Westchester County, very, very wealthy bedroom community of New York. And Don visited and came to Springfield and was here for, 30, 40 years teaching. At some point in our conversations, I said to Don, so when I graduated in '77, the class of '74, and I see John Naronsky is a '74, and there's some others probably here. I thought the class of '74 was as remarkable a class that I saw when I was here. They had either 4 or 5 merit semifinalists or finalists in terms of academics. So I'm staying away from the sports stuff for the moment, but which I thought was remarkable. And I think our class had maybe one, maybe none. And I was talking with Don, and I said, we were talking about the class of '74, and Kathy Leach was this incredible musician. John Narosky was a state track champion. I mean, it was really a remarkable class. My oldest brother, Kevin, was the best skier by far of anything in my family, and probably the best one to come through Springfield by far. I happened to win a couple state titles, but he was superior in all 4 disciplines. He could have skied Division I in all 4 disciplines: slalom, giant slalom, jumping, and cross. So I just say that was a remarkable class. And I said to Don, that's a remarkable class. And Don said, and again, I'll be directionally correct and wrong on all the numbers, but he said, no, that's nothing. He said the class of '65, and it could have been '63 or '68, but it doesn't matter, we'll go with '65. He said had 17 merit placing, either semifinalists or finalists. So the school system was that superior. It was remarkable. And the legacy was still like that when I was here. I mean, it was a remarkable school system. I went to 2 schools after high school, Williams and business school at Darden, down at University of Virginia, and they both prided themselves on teaching. They did not pride themselves on research and all that stuff. They prided themselves on teaching. And truly, I never had any teachers that were as good or better than Don Tiernan,
George Johansson, Ruth Henry, Charlie McHugh, Mrs. Madron, can't think of her name, Maureen? There we go. Bob Paul. You could go through the list of teachers. It was unbelievable. And literally, the best teachers I've ever had were here. So I just say that because I feel incredibly fortunate, as we all should. So I'll go on to just a few comments. I don't think anybody in Springfield's history has ever made a full career on the sports field as an athlete. I don't think. Maybe someone did. But a lot came out and have gone into roles, coaches, administration, teaching. And again, the lessons that I took from that basically had more to do with those lessons than winning and losing. I mean, I look back at the mentors and the leaders of the teams and what we learned from them. So in my own class, there's like 4 or 5 of my classmates here. And honest to gosh, every one of them is probably a better athlete than I am. I see Vic Baskovich there, Andy is there, Mike Langdon. I don't think Mike's still here. There's Mike. So there you go. And where's Mertz here? Sam Colin. I'm over here. There's Colin and there's Mert. So, and truthfully, I happen to be lucky to be in a sport that we had in the 70s and 80s in Vermont. That was probably the highest level. The entire United States ski team came from southern Vermont, the Nordics. And so in jumping, it was all down in Brattleboro. And in the cross country, it was Putney. John Caldwell is like the godfather of cross country and his kids. Billy Koch, the top American ever, he won states in 74. I won it in 77. So we were skiing against, and I was nowhere of Billy Koch. So I just say that because we were skiing with all of these kids around that time. So it was just incredibly fortunate that I was there in my mind. So anyways, I just say that because it was really more about leadership and what you learn on those lessons on the field than the victories. Having said that, kudos, props to the soccer team. Our team in '77, I guess it was technically '76. We were the first Marble Valley League champions in the history of the school. And like every other team I was on, we lost in the first round of the playoffs. So I think we were 13-1, and we lost 4-0 in the first round. But to our credit, as freshmen, we were 0-13, 0-13. And Pete White came to us, I remember this, Pete White was our coach, wonderful coach, came to us and effectively said, hang with it, if you guys keep staying together, you'll be pretty good. So I was like, sure. And if you looked at the pictures of us as freshmen, what a ragabag group we were. So we lost in the playoffs junior year. We returned, I think, 10 or 11, 12 seniors. And we lost my junior year, Mike Rushton, who was a wonderful baseball player, really good athlete. A lot of the Russians good athletes. And he was our goalie as a senior when I was a junior. And we had basically no goalie. And then remarkably, Andy Bladika shows up. And I'm not even sure Andy had ever played goalie. But he may not look it, but he's actually a pretty good athlete. And so Andy shows up. None of us have ever seen him play goalie because we have no goalie. And remarkably, he was actually incredibly good. Early in the season, I think it was me, but I can't swear to this, again, directionally correct. Someone passed a ball back to Andy, and it was the slowest moving ball he faced all year, and it went between his legs and into the goal. Yeah. I know exactly where I can picture this early in the season, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a long season. And in fact, that was like one of the few goals that ever got by Andy.
Coach White never told me about keeping your feet together. It wasn't like playing shortstop.
It literally was like right through the legs, right through the wicket. So we ended up 13-1, losing the first round. of the playoffs. But it was a wonderful team, and when you look at who the players are, every one of them were the same freshmen that went 0-13. So kind of on to skiing. I'm not going to say too much. I think I've got another hour to go, but I'm not even close to the record at this point. Again, in the spirit of being lucky, and some of you will remember these people, some of you may not. There was a family named the Stroms, and Jerry Strom came to Springfield from Norway, and he worked for one of the shops, I don't know which one, but Jerry was a champion level skier out of Norway. And so in his house, and Ricky was in our class. And so Rick was in our class, and Jerry was, again, lucky. Pictures in his house of Jerry jumping the Holmenkollen. The Holmenkollen is the big jump outside of Oslo. It's one of the biggest jumps in the world, and Jerry would jump that, and he was like a junior national champion. He shows up in Springfield, and so Jerry shows up, and my mom just takes affinity to Jerry. And so my coaches growing up, starting at about the age of 6, were Jerry and my mother. Jerry knew everything about skiing, and Mom knew everything about kids. And so we basically tracked with Jerry as a young child, and he took us everywhere. And Mom followed along, and Mom just kind of inserted herself in the Southern Vermont ski system. So she befriended John Caldwell, she befriended the Kochs, she befriended all of these people in this unique period of time where it really was kind of formative. And so the rest of us, I'll say relatively average athletes, we just got kind of sucked into that stream and did better than we ever would have done on our own. So with that, I will finish. I've got another hour to go, but I'll thank you. It's a complete honor to be here to accept this, and I'll say good night.
All right, the unstable one is back. Thank you there, Jess. My wife would concur, probably, so. Moving on. It's the first time I met David or even talked to him, and in my notes was like, when we're trying to learn more about him, I said, this guy must be super modest, because he's not sharing with us, and his emails to me were like short and to the point, which is just the way I like him, so it was very nice to communicate with him. So thank you there, Dave. And I will say, this has probably been the first one of these, well, maybe not, maybe the second, where all the speakers have been fantastic. So everybody who spoke so far, great job. We're really enjoying this. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, the Hat family is off doing their jobs. Cody, he asked me to speak for him. I'm happy to do that. I've known him a good part of his life, been around him, his brother, certainly the whole family. So it's pretty easy to speak for Cody, and I'm proud to do it. We had a chat, we went back and forth with some emails. This time of year, being a coach, particularly at the collegiate level, basketball is kind of busy these days, as you can imagine, and it's a lot of work, and it doesn't matter if you're a head coach or an assistant coach, they work their tails off and spend a lot of time. So we appreciate his success and a great representative of our community, that's for sure. And I would attribute that pride to his grandfather more than anybody, as when I came to town, I got to coach with Richie. I learned from Richie. I got to coach with some of the best coaches here. When I, teeing off what Dave said, the Richie Wymans, the Bob Schweitzers, the Bo Burskis, I got to be friendly with these guys and got to know a lot from them. So terrific teachers, and that's why a lot of our folks did go into coaching and other things. It's a great string of coaches. So what Cody shared with me, like anyone else, he's very grateful to the selection committee, to the person who nominated him for this honor. Certainly these are all honors that are earned by folks, and Cody is no exception to that. Cody was a very hard worker, He was very dedicated to what he did. He was attentive to details. But it wasn't just on the athletic fields and court. He was also the same way academically. Okay, Cody finished second in his class towards valedictorian. And the person that beat him was only a little more competitive than him, and that was his brother. And I coached his brother, and he was very competitive, so they were a great pair to be around at times. If he's hearing me, he knows what I mean. He's also grateful to fellow Cosmos that take time to come out here tonight to honor not only him, the inductees he has this thrill of going into this Hall of Fame with. He celebrates where he is with your fellow inductees. You know, I'm sure he was 2004, 2009, not that far. Everybody kind of gets to know everybody, particularly in this town. So there's a lot of friendships here, I'm sure, where people look back at those glory days. He congratulates fellow inductees as he is honored of entering this Hall of Fame with them, and being in the Hall of Fame with his grandfather, Richie Wyman, and now with his mom's teams, you know, pretty good, pretty great accomplishment. When I talked to Sherry, she had said to me, well, you know, I was not really a coach. And she is. And I said, no, you're a coach. And imagine the house she grew up in. She got some coaching there, that's for sure. And she picked up everything that I'm sure her dad was laying down. I think for Cody, when he left high school, he went to Springfield first, and I think then he went over to Norwich. That's where he really got more into things and was playing basketball there. He ended up at Vermont Academy, coaching down there for a while. Had a couple of great athletes. Met a couple of college coaches who took an interest in him. And this is how this stuff works. You can be really good, but it helps to know somebody. And when somebody takes a liking to you, you got a good chance of succeeding somewhere. And he did that. He took full advantage of that. And to his credit, you know, he's in Madison Square Garden last night coaching a college basketball game. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to Cody. And hope to see him soon in person. I know he's got a nice young family now. I assume he's living in Wisconsin. And hopefully one day we see him out there as the head coach of the club, which I'm pretty sure we will. So this is where I'm Cody saying thank you very much, and I'll move on. Okay. See, now she wants to get rid of me. I'll let her read her own notes. So, next up, when we put this group together, the Hall of Fame together, we wanted to make sure 3 types of people could be honored. Obviously, coaches, and we really dug in history, and we think we got some of our best. We have our best coaches that have been honored. And the athlete, you know, coaches do not have to graduate Springfield High School, but they have to spend time here and be out a certain amount of time before we consider them. Athletes have to graduate from Springfield High School and contribute while you're here, obviously. But we thought, how about those who come to town and do a lot? And speaking of that, when Paul Kendall was meeting with me the other day, I said, it's great that we have an alumni that coached the team and did well. We have a lot to do that. He says, I'm not an alumni. I said, well, I saw your name on the alumni list. He says, no, when I came here, I insisted on paying dues to the alumni because I wanted to be part of the alumni. And it took him and there's the president speaking. And, you know, so that's credit to Paul. And I feel the same here. I grew up in New York State, moved to Florida, did things there. We moved here in '91. Ironically for me, I went to a purple and white high school. Then I came here and our arch rivals were green and white. It was quite a turnaround. And then we have to go out, and our arch rivals are in a purple and white. So I'm past all that now, it's irrelevant. But I'm a Cosmo too. All 4 of our kids graduated here, and we're thrilled with Springfield High School, that's for sure. A big part of being a contributor, which is the third label we use, is a person who has done good things for our programs athletically. This is a guy we've looked at for a couple years, and he doesn't stop working. There's 2 folks like him, and I'll mention Pootie Wash just because I'm thinking of Pootie right now. I used to say to Pootie a couple years back when he was still active, when you go to bed at night, is your brain still working? He says, constantly, I'm constantly thinking about stuff. There's no question, Tom Haley is always thinking about stuff. And not long ago, I said to Tom, don't you get tired of coming down here and covering our games? And Tom said to me, I love Springfield. I love coming here. So, the guy who's written about probably a lot of people in this room, and goes back deeper, and really who we use for information. He's done a lot of features on Hall of Fame members the past years. Tom Haley. Oh, I screwed it up. Of course I did, because off on my own. So we often offer opportunity for a person to be inducted or introduced by someone, and Brooke, his daughter, is going to come and speak. Who I refer to her again as his agent.
Hello. It is my honor to introduce a man who has dedicated many, many years to telling stories, not just about the game or competition, but about the people that play them, coach them, and support them. My dad, Tom Haley, is a sports writer who has spent his career finding the heart and soul of high school athletics. With a passion that is contagious and a work ethic that is inspiring, my dad has made a lasting impact on the lives of countless student athletes, coaches, and families throughout Vermont. What sets my dad apart is his ability to see beyond the scoreboard and statistics. He finds the stories that speak to people, that inspire us, and that remind us of the power of sports to transform lives. But my dad's impact goes far beyond the pages of the newspaper. He has always been there for his family, attending every possible event, game, and tournament for his kids, grandkids, and even great-grandkids. For many high school athletes around Vermont, being interviewed by my dad is a core memory. He has a way of making everyone feel seen, heard, and valued. Tonight, we honor my dad's contributions to the world of high school sports. We celebrate his dedication, his passion, and his commitment to telling the stories that matter and inspire. Please join me in welcoming my dad, Tom Haley, to the Springfield High School Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
"47-minute record, it's safe. When I was at Dressel Gym a few months ago covering a game, Rich Sapak told me, that's when he told me, you're going in the Hall of Fame. My first reaction was surprise. My second reaction was, I can't think of another high school in the state of Vermont where I'd rather have this honor. And I'm not just saying that because I'm standing here. I'm saying that because when I think about it, there are probably more games and more moments at Springfield than about any other school that really stick with me that I remember. And I jotted just a few of them down. Hopefully they'll trigger something with you, and maybe you were part of them. But unlike Joan Chaffee, I did not do any research. I purposely didn't do research because I wanted these to be moments I remembered crystal clear without looking them up. So the first one was a field hockey playoff game in Middlebury and the Cosmos and Middlebury were tied, and it was going on and on and on. Getting a little darker, and I believe it or not, I even heard people talking about pulling their cars up to the field and turning on the headlights. And it never did get settled that day. They drove back to Springfield, I drove back to Charlestown. We came back the next day, and they decided to start it over from the beginning. So 2 games in 2 days. Springfield wound up losing by a goal, but because of the duration of the game, it truly was unforgettable. And speaking of games that would not end and going back day after day, Andy Bodika, it was a softball game, championship game against Linden, Springfield and Linden. It was in Pulteney. Rain came, couldn't play. Went back the next day, rain, couldn't play. They said, well, we're not going to make Linden drive all the way from the Northeast Kingdom back to Pulteney a 3rd time. And it's not like Pulteney was across the street from Springfield either. And so they moved the game to Thetford Academy, and I pulled in the parking lot at Thetford, and Dave McGinn was the AD there, and he came running out to meet me. He said, nope, we moved it again. It's up the road a few miles at Oxbow now. Our field was too wet. So state championship game played on 3 different fields in I don't know how many days, and it was a great game. Might have been extra innings, 1-run loss for the Cosmos, but you just can't forget things like that. And then another game that's really stayed with me, over here at what is now called Bursky Wyman Field, it was Windsor and Springfield in baseball, and the pitching matchup was Greg Bursky for Springfield and Ricky Rugg for Windsor. And I never saw a baseball game, honestly, I enjoyed more. It was 1-0. I remember who won. What I remember is how good I felt driving back. What a privilege it felt like to cover that game. It was like the funnest game. Every pitch mattered. It was just, it was a clean, it was the greatest advertisement for high school baseball I think I've ever seen. And it just felt so good and so privileged driving back. I actually felt like I should give the toll booth attendant $15 instead of 15 cents. It was that good. It was just an amazing game. And by the way, I think Greg Bursky still holds the career record for the lowest ERA even today at Middlebury College. And then, of course, other unforgettable things. It might have been 09, it was somewhere in there. Like I said, I didn't do research, but when Springfield beat Windsor at St. Peter's Field in Rutland for the state football championship, and then the same era won a state title in boys basketball at Berry Auditorium. And then another moment, never forget, Vermont, New Hampshire, field hockey, Twin State field hockey game. This particular year was played at Castleton. This was like in the 90s, before the new stadium was even built. It was New Hampshire, Vermont was ahead, 2-1, very late in the game. And New Hampshire came down with the ball. They had the numbers, looked like they were going to score. The New Hampshire player unleashed a hard shot, looked like it was going to tie it up. And the Vermont goalie, Springfield's Jenna Young, came up and out of nowhere, fully extended leg, knocked the ball down, saved Vermont's 2-1 victory. I'll never, ever forget that. And just another game, we talked about Andy's game, softball game. There was a game here in Springfield. Springfield was the better seed. Springfield had a powerful lineup that day. So Tim Brown, coaching Mount Anthony, decided to play, because Springfield had such a powerful lineup, 4 outfielders. And it worked almost all day. And then right at the end, the last inning, Springfield gets a big hit to win it, a walk-off hit. And Tim Brown said, well, it was the only chance we had. I remember him saying that to me after the game, and it almost worked, but it didn't. And Springfield won the game. That was Colleen Debish coaching that year. And then another memory, when the Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl game was played in Windsor one year, Grant White, Springfield's Grant White, the quarterback, a long touchdown pass that got beyond, Rutland's Mark Comstock got beyond the New Hampshire secondary, and Grant White threw a beautiful ball, and Comstock caught it in stride for a touchdown. And one of the things I gotta mention, because this was like a highlight of highlights, this is unbelievable. Rutland came down to Dressel Gym with the great Jim McCaffrey, who got NBA tryout, all that. It's one of the greatest players ever to play basketball in Vermont. And nobody thought Springfield could win that game. And Richie Wyman, Springfield coach, a perfectly executed game plan with a very methodical, deliberate offense, upsets Rutland. Nobody thought that could happen. Upsets them 38-30. I walk in the locker room after, and Jeff Wyman is in my face yelling. He's saying, you didn't pick us, you didn't pick us. He's saying, Booty Walsh didn't pick us, nobody picked us. I said, Jeff, nobody would pick you. This was like the greatest upset in high school sports history, and oh my God, that will just stay with me forever. I don't think there has ever been an upset quite like that. And I know that that the one other one I wanted to mention, because I think it might be as great of a comeback as ever happened in Vermont. Now, you know soccer goals come very hard. Springfield is behind Burr & Burton, was in Springfield, 4-1, 8 minutes left. A lot of people went home to dinner. And I like I said, I didn't do research, I can't remember the year, but I seem to remember that if it helps the frame of reference, one of Dr. Phil Hughes' kids was on that team, and they scored 4 goals in that game, 8 minutes, and came back 5-4 and won. That was incredible. You have a hard time finding another comeback to match that in any sport. And I know a lot of you here tonight has been a lot about history. Some of the younger people might say ancient history. But here's the nice thing. All of that passion, success, all of that stuff that was around in those days is still here. We saw it last year when the town of Springfield turned out in force at that game in Newport, New Hampshire, to watch Macy Stagner score her 1,000th point. Cosmo fans took over the gym in Newport with signs, and when she scored the 1,000th point, I think it was like in the third quarter, that everybody ran out on the floor, they were waving signs. It was just a great showing of spirit. And when you look at Dressel Gym today, it's brighter and more beautiful than it's been in a long time. There's new bleachers and new press box at brown field, and there are just so many signs that it's still here. You know, I've heard I know they lose Macy Stagner, they graduated this year, but from what I hear about the girls' JV team and 8th grade team, I mean, there's a lot coming up, so I don't think it's gonna be just about history here. I think there's gonna be some great moments coming up, and I'll tell you, you're very, you should feel very honored and proud to be the home of the Simpsons. But you should be even prouder to be the home of the Cosmos. Thank you.
As Tom alluded to, it really does have a lot of history, and it's very important to us that people understand it is about the history, the Cosmos pride, and being inducted means that you have contributed to that Cosmos history. So thank you again, Tom, for helping us keep track of all that history. Really appreciate it. Our next inductee has been doing, I would say, stats for over 30 years for at least 30 plus area, how many area teams? 18, 20, 30, 90, I don't know. But I have to give you a little history on this, and everybody knows the two people involved that I was gonna share this little nugget. So I mentioned earlier that sometimes people really feel like they don't want the attention to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But it really is about the history. And when we started researching John, I said it, not Mr. Lavoie, and he just kept popping up in everything. And Joan and I went to Rich and we were like, we gotta, you know, we need to get. So Rich approached him and he said, no, you know, I don't really wanna do that. And so we kind of dropped it for a little bit. I think we dropped it in September, I'm not sure. And then we picked it back up again, October, November. And then Joan and I really started nagging SAPAC to get with John at one of the home basketball games. So SAPAC comes back to us and tells us that he saw John at one of the basketball games and pulled him aside and said, John, you're going in the Hall of Fame. You can either do it now or you can do it when you're dead. True story. So part of our research on John includes the yearbooks. And his high school yearbook, I'm not sure if any of you guys saw his picture and everything like that, but his name is Jon Lavoie, and I even think the V is lowercase. And so when I had the opportunity to start talking with John about information and everything like that, the first question I asked him was, how do you spell your name? Because in the newspapers, when he was in high school, it's Jon. But everything else, after he graduated high school and college, it's John. And so, you guys know, I am particular about this stuff. How do you spell your name? And he says, oh, it's John, L-A, capital V-O-I-E. And I said, you realize that it's wrong in the yearbook? And he said, yeah, I made it that way. Now, this is a statistician, right? I made it wrong that way. Why? I wanted to save on the letters. So it's really been an honor to talk with some of our inductees this year. John, I talked about the games, his stats, and everything like that. And I do want to say that with the 3,300 games that he has kept stats at, and that's more now, if you conservatively do an hour and a half for each of those games, this doesn't include travel time, that's over 5,000 hours of stats that John has donated to the town of Springfield to help our coaches keep track of their players' improvements, where they can improve, everything like that. And he's donated all that. And that was really, really kind of it stood out for me. So our next inductee, John Lavoie.
Thank you, Rich. The reason why I'm in the chair, I had some surgery, getting better, but I have a hard time. I can stand quite well, but my knees are a little bit shaky, so being here gives me the opportunity to speak comfortably. And you're right, I don't want to waste the H. I thought, why we have to write your name all the time? Get rid of the H and just, it's just an extra letter. So anyway, I went to school in Springfield High School for 4 years. I took the co-op program. The co-op program, to me, was absolutely incredible. I started in our sophomore year at the high school. We went to a machine shop down on Clinton Street for 5 weeks and back to school 5 weeks. Our classes were held together as cooperative machinist students. Our junior and senior year, we were selected to go into local machine shops. I had the fortune to go to Jones & Lamson at the time, and that was a 3-year program, so we had to go 1 more year after high school. When I was in high school, sometime in springtime, I decided to join the Army at 17. After basic, 1 week after graduation, I was at Fort Dix. I said, what am I doing here? So I went through basic training at 17, came home, continued my co-op program to finish out my postgraduate year. Then I had this lady I had a crush on all those years. Not this one. We were high school sweethearts, and we still are. We were married. I was 19 years old, and she was 20. We got married very young. I married an older lady. I knew that she would get Social Security before I would, so that was good. But we got married early, and we have 4 children. We have Michelle here, we have David, we have Karen and Tricia, our twins. And our family is very, very close. We all live together in the same area. I'm trying to refresh back to where we were. At a very early age, I worked at Jones & Lamson. I decided to go into the engineering department for 3 years, knowing that I may want to make a change. And my change was, after 3 years, to go into house construction. What a change that was. I knew nothing about house construction, but I was a very good detailer. I could draw very well, and my skill was in detailing. So I didn't read any books whatsoever. I learned by looking and watching. And I looked at something, and always staring. I go places, and I'm thinking, why are those light switches not lined up properly over there? That reveal on that window is not correct. That doorway doesn't have the same spacing across the top. There's some screws over here that should have been stainless, and they're rusting. Why would anybody care about that? But I had the eye for it. So even today, over the last many years, I built 18 homes. We built our 3rd home where we're living now. We've been there for 40 years. I was very good in millwork. I built a lot of kitchen cabinets, bookcases. I did all sorts of millwork. I built a trophy case for the Riverside School for their school for trophies in the auditorium. I built a trophy case for our swimming team. Then I built 40 feet of cases at the high school, which was a big job. About a month in my shop working on those, but it was something that I wanted to do, and it looks very nice, and I'm really glad I did that. So now we can put all the trophies and so on inside there. The trophies for the swim team are in a case by themselves. So I didn't schedule anything that I want to talk about in particular. I talk fast, I talk quick, and if you want to leave early, you can. It's up to you. But no, I enjoy my millwork, my cabinets. So over the last 60 years, I love building houses. I love historical homes. I like millwork. I like antiques. I like I decided to make some louvers for my gable end of my house. These are fan louvers for ventilation. So I did some research and I realized that you can't buy them anywhere. So I decided to lay it all out. I took a year off to spend time designing some louvers. And I have two US patents on my louvers. What does it really mean? Not much. But you spend a lot of money making the louvers, but I have them on my home. They've been there for 40 years. They still work very well. I built it with a backup system. But my engineering came through my school, through my high school years, the co-op program, being around people of the trade. And again, I learned by watching. I remember one time working for a contracting trade, I asked a gentleman about a question about the trade. He said, why do you keep asking silly questions? I said, well, if I don't ask a question, how am I going to know? So I decided that I would just study you and watch how it's done. I built Andy's house a long time ago. I built Jeff's house. That was my house. That was our house. I built that one in 1972, same year Karen and Tricia were born. But I like the construction, and so antiques are very important to me. Later in my time, I decided to start manufacturing antique reproduction from the 18th century. And that was a gift that I have and still have, but I stopped making them. And so I did that for many years. And then I realized that making them and selling wasn't fun anymore. So I decided to make them and give them away as gifts. So over the years, I probably gave away 300 to 400 gifts. And I gave them to every place around that I thought would use them. And for me to drive by someone home and say, my gift is in your house. My gift is in your house. And that to me means a lot to me. Michelle, my oldest daughter, has every single item that I made, times 2. My sister Marie has the same amount over here somewhere. She has the same amount of items in her house. Every time I would make something, could I have one? But that was okay. I made it for everybody. So that was a skill. Going to sports right now. I played football 3 years in high school. I was the only sophomore to make varsity on the team. I played 3 years varsity. My mother told me years ago that we had a cousin in Claremont that played football that died from an injury for football. So she said to me, you're not going to play football ever. I said, okay. But harping at her, she let me play football my sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. Moving forward, our senior year, we had a tremendous team. And we had an incredible quarterback by the name of Bruce Lucius. Bruce has since passed on, a great guy. We had a running back. His name was Sabin Morris. He was like a tractor trailer. We get him started on the field. We couldn't stop. No one could stop him. But he also had an offensive line that we opened the lines up for him. Our offensive team scored 250 points out of 8 games. Our defensive team came on the field, and the offensive team went back to watch the defense, and they only allowed 32 points for the whole season, 4 points per game for the entire season. So the opponents could not move the ball, and we can. We moved it, and they couldn't. The very first game we played at the new field at Brown Field in the fall of 1963, we hosted Bennington. We sent them home, and we beat them 59-0. Merry Christmas. From that point on, we played 8 games, and 6 of the games were scoreless. They couldn't score against us. So we had a great team. We had, like I talk about Sabin. Sabin was an incredible running back. We had men on both sides that did their job. And when I graduated, we had 14 seniors graduating. But the class of '65 came in, and they had as many students as we did. They kept it going. So moving forward on that, I just want to share a little bit about, I played basketball, CYO basketball, but also track and field, which it's in the book here. But I also love to coach swimming. And my children and I were on a swim team. I coached 15 years swimming, and we swam summers. We swam winters. We had a Valley Gator winter swim program. We swam around New England. Our car was on the road constantly. Later on at that time, we joined the North Country Aquatic Club held at Dartmouth. So we were on their team for several years. And one of the girls at the team up there was B.J. Bedford. And B.J. Bedford and Karen and Tricia were on the same relay at North Country. And B.J. went to Australia. She got a gold medal in the relay. It was kind of neat. So that was great. I have to share one other thing in swimming that I had a boy that was 14 years old in Springfield. His name was Jossie Ganter. So I entered Jossie into a meet at Dartmouth held by North Country Aquatic Club. This meet was open to New England swimmers. You had to have either a B team or a B time or A time. Times were sent in, and then we got there on Friday night. It was a 3-day event. I looked at the program, and Jossie was entered in 7 events. He was in the top 10 in 7 different events on Friday night. On Friday night, he swam one race, and prior to the race, I would sit and talk with him about his strokes, his finish, his breathing, everything that pertains to swimming. On Saturday, we came back, he swam 3 more events. Sometimes you would be in the middle lane, sometimes you'd be in the outside lanes. I said, it doesn't matter where you are. Well, all that matters is where you are in the pool. You don't have to worry about the person beside you. On Friday, he swam 1, Saturday he swam 3, and coming back on Sunday, he swam 3 more. On the way home in the car, going back to Springfield, I said to Jossie, you had an okay weekend swimming. You won 7 events. 7 events. So basically, by talking to the swimmer and proving to him he had the skills, it was up to him to take it to another level. That applies to anything you do, any sport you want, doesn't matter what it is. I was never a builder, but I built houses, and I built some nice houses. I was never involved with antiques, but I built nice antiques. But you just take it to another level, no big deal. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I just want to do it for myself and for my family. We had one time the summer swim team, we had 132 kids on the swim team, and 8 years old, 8 and under, 10 and under, 12 and under, 14 under, and 18 and under. At one of the meets, it was cold down there. I went to get a cup of coffee at one of the meets, and I came back out from the concession stand, had my coffee, and about another hour later, I decided to go back and get another cup of coffee. So I did that. So this 8-year-old boy came over to me afterwards. He said, "Is that your second cup of coffee?" I said, "What are you counting?" But the kids were wonderful. They absolutely wonderful. There's some people here that were on the swim team back then. The swim team for us was a huge, huge family. The kids now have children of their own and grandchildren of their own. I have people constantly coming to me and saying, the best years of our life was the Springfield swim team. These are all Springfield kids primarily. Then going from there, I went into basketball. I coached basketball in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with Francis Green. Francis was a gentleman in Springfield. He passed away. I also coached with Mark Gomez. Mark has a granddaughter, Claire. She plays varsity basketball. And Mark and I coached the 8th grade girls, and it was just a terrific time in our lives. So I decided after swimming was over, I decided I wanted to go back to basketball. So I created a basketball stat sheet. And the stat sheet, I know you can't see it from here, but this is what it looks like when it's completed. And on the stat sheet, it shows all the information pertaining to the game. It shows where you have both teams written down here, their ages. There's a section here that tells if they have turnovers, fouls, steals, block shots, whatever it might be. And I keep track of both sides at the same time. So when I go to a game, I don't sit over there with the people. I sit in a corner where it's quiet. And I don't talk to anybody. If someone comes over, I said, you have to wait for immediate timeout in high school. It doesn't happen. They don't know that. But the thing is, I have to have total confidence in the game. And when something happens at this end of the court here, and now the girls are down at the other end, you still have to remember what happened here. This still has to be entered in your stats, even though it's past you. And the other problem I have is that the girls all have ponytails. And the ponytails cover up the numbers. So I contacted the Vermont Principals Association and asked if they could have bathing caps to cover up their hair. You can't see the numbers. So if you're on the radio, you have no idea who the players are. So we had great times. I went to a lot of games. I have stats for, actually there's a player here. I'm looking at her right now. I saw her play as a 5th grader. I decided to watch her from that point on through high school, about 7 or 8 years. And I realized that this girl had tremendous potential. And her name is Chelsea McAllister. We became very good friends over the years. But it was so much fun to see kids play at a higher level, but also she didn't play down to the other girls. She included the girls into the game. She had tremendous amount of assists, which means that she would get the ball to someone else on the team so they could score. And those points would add to the team. She would also steal, have block shots, and all sorts of stuff. But that was one of the thrills for me to have a person like her on the team, and to be able to travel around New England to cover games in the high school level and also in college. I did a lot of college games. I didn't work for anybody. I didn't want any money for it. And then I also attended some WNBA games only because I like to see that level of basketball. I took my stat sheet and I sent my stat sheet down to Rebecca Lobo. She works at ESPN. And I asked her what she thought of the stat sheet. She says that absolutely incredible what you created here, being able to handle both sides at the same time, knowing where they are at any moment. I went to a game at Mascoma, New Hampshire, Mascoma High School. It was a JV game, and one of the JV girls up there played Fall Mountain and just destroyed Fall Mountain that day. Unfortunately, they was home and away. The next game, they were back at Fall Mountain. I took my stat sheets over to the JV coach and I said, that ain't gonna happen again. So he put some players on here, he shut her down totally. Without the stats, you would have no idea. You have no idea what's going on the floor or whatever. It's like, so for me, it's a gift back to the players, to the coaches, and it keeps your mind active, I mean, very active. So I'm treasure that in my lifetime. I'm all done talking. Oh, I must say one more thing. One more thing. I was at the doctor's office over in Londonderry the other day and had a checkup over there. I got there early, and it's very quiet in there, and the seating is very close to the front desk. What are you laughing for? So this gentleman comes in, and he says, goes to the desk, and he says, I have shingles. So the girl said, well, the nurse will be out shortly. So he sat with me, and we talked about different things. And finally, the nurse comes out, and she's going to help you. And the guy said, I have shingles. And she said, well, the doctor's busy right now. He'll be out in a few minutes. So we talked some more about whatever. So finally, the doctor comes out, and the guy says to him, hey, doc, where do you want me to put these roof shingles? So thank you for everything. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, John, that was wait. Well, that was painless, wasn't it? Actually, we're doing pretty well tonight. We're kind of ahead of schedule, so we're proud of that. Keep it that way, hopefully. Okay, Greg, go ahead.
Tom was invited to a banquet, it's right here. He goes to the banquet, and there's a meal, and on the menu was a baked potato and a butter. So he saw a boy walking around and had a platter of butter, like this right here. So he motioned to the boy to come over and asked the boy if he could have an extra pat of butter for his baked potato. The boy looked right in the eyes, he said, one potato, one pat of butter. and so Tom thought it was kind of a joke. Tom's a jokester. He's a really good fellow. So he said to the boy one more time, he said, could I please have a pat of butter with my potato, another one? And the boy said to him, one potato, one pat of butter. So Tom decided that he had enough of this. He said, do you know who I am? He said, no. He said, I've been the featured speaker this evening at this banquet. And the boy said, do you know who I am? No, I'm the guy with the butter.
Very good, John. Very good. All right, moving right along. The next person is someone I would generally be pointing out in the crowd saying, here's who's with us tonight. When I first came to Vermont in '91, I had officiating experience, and football was one of those things, and I got accepted right away by the local association, and some of those early officials I got to work with were some of my first friends. And until you get in a car with Christy Morris, Tom Baird, and Jerry Jasinski, you have no idea how you question why you're riding to Bennington with these people. But we developed a great relationship over those years, and we're still good friends today, and that comes from just officiating high school football. Christy is kind of a guy that, if you can find a reason not to like him, you'd have to raise your hand and explain it to me for about a half hour, because I don't think that's possible. Everything he does with care. All my experience with Christy have been always professional. Some jokes, but not that good, Christy. Yeah. So, but Christy has been, he's a model for this, as John was, and he's a model for this Hall of Fame because of what he's done after high school. How much he's given back to Springfield, and how much, same with dedication to things, which is proven in his years of marriage. To his high school sweetheart, as we learned. So, great stuff. So without further ado, I don't know if I can raise this microphone up high enough though. Christy Morris.
Thanks, Rich. I didn't realize we were supposed to be telling jokes, or I would have brought some. I am one of those inductees that had to be arm twisted into accepting the honor. And Jess Martin called me into our office one day and sat me down and says, we want to induct you into the Hall of Fame, the High School Hall of Fame. And I said to myself, I said, why me? I said, I'm just an average athlete. There are people out there that have won championships, that have done all kinds of awards and accolades. I said, I'm just an average person. And then she tried to convince me, no, you're involved with politics and state house and legislation, you coached and so on and so on. So reluctantly at first, thanks Jess, I have accepted the honor, and I couldn't be more pleased looking around the room and seeing the athletes that are here, the family that's here, maybe I should have said family first, and other Cosmo athletes and people that associate. John, good to hear from you again. Those jokes were great. I didn't realize I couldn't get a second pat of butter. So congratulations to the other individual and team inductees. I'm truly honored to accept this nomination. But this nomination's not for me. I mentioned it. I consider myself just an average athlete, and I'm truly humbled to be recognized and nominated. Since I participated in 12 high school sport teams, maybe that puts me slightly above average because I made 12 teams, but not in my mind. Many previous nominees and those here tonight have achieved success far and above what I consider my efforts. For example, Chelsea McCollister, Cody Hatt, 1,000-point plus basketball scorers. That's just incredible. Think about that, 1,000 points over their high school career. Cody can be seen on TV, and this was mentioned earlier, as an assistant coach for a nationally competitive college Division I team. Played at Madison Square Garden yesterday, Marquette University. That's just incredible for me. These athletes and others provide inspiration to our current athletes and younger people. Likewise, the cheer and soccer teams that are here tonight. They achieved a state championship. I didn't win a state championship. I participated in a couple, but we didn't win. Al Gutterson, another example of a Springfield athlete, Olympic gold medal winner. These are incredible inductees, and I can certainly compliment all of them. I truly believe that any and all of my perceived successes, wind's picking up, are attributed to those who educated, mentored, guided, and supported me over the years. First, I am indebted to my parents, specifically my mom. We were the product of a split family, and as a single mom, life wasn't always easy. But she provided guidance, adequate material needs, and opportunities that she afforded the family. We weren't wealthy by any means. The family didn't even have a car from the time I was in the 4th grade until I was a freshman in high school. Think about that. We biked all over town. Dad traveled to watch games and provide occasional transportation accesses, or resources, I should say. Our older brother, Saban, was a huge mentor in my growing up. He was an inspiration in my early years, and he continues to be a mentor, even though he passed away December 24th, 1968. He taught me to wipe my feet while entering a building, remove my hat once I'm inside. Where am I? Tuck in my long-tailed shirts when in public. Respect others and hold the door for other people. It's just common sense stuff, right? But it was instilled in us at an early age. Sabe was an outstanding football player. We heard from John earlier about that. Was one of the most feared running backs by most tacklers. I also believe that my younger brother, Mark, was the better athlete in the family, believe it or not. Saban was just incredible at football. Nobody wanted to tackle him. It was just, he was, what did you say? He was a tractor trailer. Mark played most of the same sports that the rest of us did. He could throw a football, baseball, softball, hit a softball, shoot a basketball, and hit a golf ball like other people I haven't seen around here. He's just a good athlete. Thanks, Mark, for all that. Believe it or not, a younger person can be an inspiration to an older person. Mom worked nights at Jones and Lamson, and football continued at home after the many nights of Saban's practices. Many times he'd come home, throw me a ball, a pillow, or some object, which resulted in me being tackled, much to the pleasure of Mark and Sister Karen. This was every night. When it wasn't football, we played outdoor basketball or wiffle ball. Family friend Jim Denon, you might remember Jim, and I would team up against Sabe and Jim's younger brother Tom. And guess what? Jimmy Denon and myself, we never won a game, whether it was basketball, wiffle ball, you name it. Sabe was that incredible of an athlete. My elementary education years were mentored and supported by Howard Smith, Muriel Link. Mr. Smith continued to follow me in the years after primary education. He was always complimentary, cordial, polite, congratulatory, and spoke in support of my town endeavors. Some, including me, believe Mrs. Link, and if you knew her at East School, was a tough teacher and considered her strict. Well, in the 6th grade, our apartment caught fire in early January following the Christmas break, and we lost about everything we owned. Mrs. Link led a school fundraiser for our family that instilled in me the reason today to support others who are in need. I later came to learn that she had a kind side, which was, I guess I didn't see that in the classroom. The fire could be a contributor for me becoming a firefighter later in life. Doug Seymour, Pop Perry, Bo Bursky were also instrumental and inspirational in the junior high years. John, you probably remember some of them too. In football, I played for Coach Ralph Wood, Larry Coughlin, Jerry Dusinski. I played with several great athletes, including other inductees who are here tonight and teammates. My junior year, we were 6-2. And I think, Jeff, we lost to Bellows Falls in the last game of the season, 13-6. Otherwise, we would have been state champions. They didn't have the playoff system that they do now. They had a scoring point system. Tom, you remember those. And that's how they determined who was state champion. I started as an offensive tackle my junior year beside unbalanced line, beside Peter Plug Camel, pulling guard Bill Bear Bibbins, running back Jim Schwartz, and receiver Jeff Taft Dick. The latter three being Hall of Fame inductees. That was an incredible team. In basketball, I played for Coach Hal Vincent and Richie Wyman. More on Richie in a minute. My junior year, we played Rice Memorial in a state championship. Remember that, Jeff? No, I never did. Though it was close at halftime, they scored as many points in the second half as we did the entire game. That was disheartening. I believe we had a great team that year with Don Lernovich, Perry Williams, Jim Schwartz again, Jerry Whalen, Todd Plimpton, and Jeff Tapdick. In that game, I was a bench sub because of the great team that we had. But I did manage to get in the game with under a minute to go. My wife has issues with that on TV when the subs go in late in the game. It's not to give them playing time experience, it's to honor the ones coming out. But we have a difference of opinion. Humorously, the ball was passed to me while I was in deep in the corner, and I put up a shot. And if I made it, I was hoping it would be the 40-point score basket. It would have been a three-pointer in today's world. Yep, you guessed it. Just off the bench, it cleared everything in what's called an air ball. Wasn't even close. Surprisingly, that shot made the highlights on the WCAX sports floor. Who would have thought? I often wonder what the viewers thought when they watched that sports clip. I imagine them saying, if that's how the Cosmos shoot, it's no wonder they lost the game. In track, I was coached by Art Cesario. I ran the 440 and the 880. Modern day, they call it the 400 and 800. I ran with Mickey Cesario and Jeff Murchie. My senior year, I did qualify for the New Englands in the 880 after finishing in third place in the state. I ran and won the B or second heat. Interestingly enough, Dennis Hardy from Bellows Falls ran in the first heat, and our times were exact, so we tied. Why is that important, you're asking? Because the first time Springfield ran against Bellows Falls in track, I beat him. The second time we ran against Bellows Falls in the Southern Districts, he beat me. The third time, we tied. Pretty incredible. Denny and I remain good friends today. My theory with running, if you want to be faster, you should surround yourself with faster runners. I had Mickey and Jeff in the middle distance runs and Dale Whitney for sprints. Whether it was John, you remember Dale Whitney? Whether it was football, basketball, or track, seems like I was always chasing Dale. His 200-meter time remains on the record board at the high school from 1969. Back to Coach Wyman. In my senior year of basketball, I started, not started, and ultimately became frustrated. And I quit the team. Perhaps because I thought I was a better athlete than I actually was. Young kids do. But perhaps it was because Saban had passed away that December. That was a tough time for me. I came to understand that quitting the team was the worst decision I made in my early years. However, as it turns out, it became the best decision I ever made. I'll explain why. Richie and I talked about that decision several times afterwards. He always told me he didn't hold it against me. The wisdom spoken by a true leader. I'd like to think I learned why later as I coached boys freshman basketball. And after a 5-year hiatus, I coached 10 years of girls JV. As our two daughters, Jamie and Aaron, and they're here, were playing and we didn't have a coach. I thought that was me. Coaching kids, especially high school age kids, is more than coaching. It's not just a game. In observing and talking with Richie, we had an abundance of knowledge, and I learned that coaching kids goes far beyond the game. I will forever be grateful for his friendship. Following graduation, Mom sent me to Vermont Technical College on Save's death benefit. I admitted I struggled my freshman year, but I did play basketball. I managed to hang on and returned my senior year and graduated successfully. Vermont Tech was a 2-year school, it's an associate degree. While at VTC, I played basketball for Coach Austin Wood, another legend in his own time. Having quit my high school senior year, I was skeptical and wondered how I would fit in with the Green Knights. Coach Wood was equally inspirational, and we won the Northern New England Small College League Championship both years I attended. The second year came down to the end of the championship game against Southern Maine Technical College. Springfield alum Alan Abrahamovich sank 2 free throws with time running out to secure the win. So I guess I was part of a championship team. Maybe. And I did have a lot to do with it, at Vermont Tech. I worked at Lovejoy Tool for 44 years before retiring in 2018. However, I remain employed there part-time. I was promoted to manager of engineering in January of 1990 and served in that capacity until retiring. I owe much of my employment and management experience to Doug Priestley, and I don't know if people remember him. I've served as a Springfield firefighter for 51 years, with over 45 of them as an EMT. And again, I credit Darrell Sinan, first chief I worked for, Puggy Lamphere, and Russ Thompson for that opportunity. I held several positions. I was call captain, assistant chief, and before getting elected to the select board, where you can't be your own boss, so I returned to a firefighter without rank. In my years following football officiating, many previous officials helped me to the position of referee. Jim Howard, Art Hare, Ted LaFlamme, Brian Haskell, Jerry Jasinski, name we've heard often, and yes, maybe even Rich Sapak. Thanks, Rich. Other officials that had, I would be remiss if I didn't mention other officials in other games, but Clint Martin certainly was a part of that. So, Jess. It's because of my mom and service to the community that I ran for select board, and I have served in that capacity for 17 years. In my earlier select board years, Bob Forgeitz was the town manager. He proved invaluable for mentorship relative to town government, and Bob went on to become state representative after his retirement. It seemed to be a natural progression for me to follow, and I too ran for state representative. I was appointed to fill Bob's seat, unfortunately, when he passed away. And I have served in the legislature for 6 years. I would acknowledge that both of these endeavors couldn't happen without community leaders such as Don Gurney, which was mentioned before, Alan Woodbury, John Follett, to name a few. Each of them gave of their time, money, and energy for Springfield. It truly takes a community of individuals in their efforts to make a town successful, as well as individuals like John. I've been a member of Mount Sinai Shriners since 1986, rose to the position of potentate in 2010, and I currently serve on the Board of Governors at Shriners Children's New England. Saban played in the Shrine game in 1965. My grandson Devin played 3 years ago. So, footsteps followed by relatives. I officiated the Shrine game in 1992. And I was elected general chairman of the Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl game and served in that capacity since 2014. I've witnessed hospital patients and ambassadors. They provided me an enormous inspiration to give back. The lessons learned from quitting the basketball team has instilled in me the need to dedicate and commit. I know that moment of time can't be reversed. I can only hope that the embarrassment of quitting can somehow be diminished by my commitment to our great community. I now find it difficult to step aside. In 3 words, I can't quit. Been there, done that, not a good feeling. I'm wrapping up, I'm getting close. Other notable mentors included Tom Lovett, Springfield High School athletic director years ago, teacher and coach, who had a 2-letter phrase for inspiration. And that is, quote, "If it is to be, it is up to me." End of quote. Coaches such as Stretch Gillum, and I included Michael Hadd on this, also have an impact as an official. I officiated Summer League basketball in Springfield. In football, I officiated games that included coaches Dave Catman, Mike Stone, Jim McLaughlin, Rick Delercio, and many others. Why do I mention just those few? They were tough coaches. And they were critical of officials, if you can believe it. Probably nobody sees the officials or the coaches yelling at the officials. When they spoke, it was advised that you listen. Because of them, I strive to be more knowledgeable, consistent, and make improvements for the next game. That's how you learn. That's how you mature. In closing, I want to congratulate Tom Haley. Tom, you still here? You are. And John Lavoie for their induction as Hall of Fame inductees. Tom has followed and reported on sports for many decades. And I would also like to give a plug for his book, Maples and Mayfields, which I own. John Lavoie has just given so much time to sports in the community, coaching, traveling over the state, to follow athletes and document their game accomplishments. John also played football with Sabe. He mentioned that. That's important to me. John also built the trophy cases. We mentioned that. In my mind, I was and remain an average athlete, and surprisingly honored to receive this nomination. I'm an ordinary person who is committed to this community and our schools. Stepping up to serve or giving back honors all those athletes who preceded us and those who provide inspiration. I am humbled in accepting this nomination and will credit countless others that I've mentioned. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my family, who endured with me over the years. For example, one year, while coaching girls JV basketball with varsity coach Larry Partridge, another inductee, who expressed at the end of one season, "Do you realize we spent over 40 hours on a school bus? 40 hours on a school bus." We made the tournament that year, so we traveled. That doesn't include practice times or games. In recognition of the time away from home, I'd like to credit our daughters, Jamie and Erin. They're in attendance tonight. Thank you for that, girls. I continue to draw inspiration from them and the 7 grandchildren and the 2 great-grandchildren, as well as from Jamie's husband, Jeremy. Thanks, family. It's important to me, and family first. Somebody mentioned that earlier, family first. John, I think it was you. Finally, I'm leaving. That's it. Wrapping up. My bride, Sharon. It was mentioned we dated in high school and married in the fall of 1971. She's always been there to support me, and what success of me that is perceived by others is because of her. The nomination and recognition are as much a part of her as it is mine. So thanks again, Springfield High School Athletics Hall of Fame. Congratulations to all this year's inductees. And I think if you saw a theme in my speech this evening is I don't like to take the credit. The credit belongs to the others that have been there to support us. And we all have said that tonight. That's a common theme. So, glory to Springfield. Go Cosmos.
Chris, watch your foot. Watch your foot. Is that tape? Was that 15 minutes, Rich?
I don't know. I stopped timing at 20. I'm going to call back on something that was brought up with the soccer team that Paul Kendall said. And maybe we got to look at some kind of a way to honor, and there's a lot of coaches in this room, every coach's wife. Because as Christy just pointed out too, Paul mentioned Moody, and back in 2015 when I was wanting to come back in coaching football, I was talking to my wife about it, and she goes, "I don't care if you coach, but I can't take the mood swings." And it took me about 2 years to figure out there's mood swings. I never noticed those. But if you're here as a coach's wife, we really appreciate it because it's a tough life. Time is taken away from families. We get into it, and there's not any coaches that's been in Springfield, I know, that doesn't get into it. And as Tom Haley referred to, we're serious in this town about athletics, and that's why I'm thrilled to be in this position with this town. We are serious. And our fans are the best in Vermont as far as I'm concerned. And this proves that. Andy Badikina, speak for the next inductee. How's that for you?
Thank you, sir. Oh, a little stiff. The last individual that we honor tonight will become the youngest member of this Hall of Fame, but it's no wonder she's being inducted so soon. Chelsea McAllister Falois was a pretty unique 3-sport athlete who graduated in 2015. I was Chelsea's softball coach for 4 years, and my co-coach Mike Langdon is also here with us tonight. Because Chelsea is a fairly recent graduate, I was able to reach out to all of her varsity coaches for some comments, so I'd like to share some of those. Christian Craig was her soccer coach for the first 3 years of her high school career, and Christian sent this. Coaching Chelsea for 3 years of her varsity soccer career was an absolute joy. From the moment she stepped on the field as a freshman, it was clear that she was a special athlete with a sharp and intelligent mind for soccer. She made an immediate impact, logging significant minutes as a center back, a mentally demanding position. As a sophomore, she seamlessly transitioned to striker, becoming a key part of our offense and helping lead the team to the state finals as one of our top scorers. What impressed me most about Chelsea was her instinctive understanding of what the team needed in critical moments, whether it was a crucial goal, a strong defensive play, or a hard physical tackle that set the tone. Chelsea McAllister delivered. Congratulations, Chelsea, on this well-deserved honor. Christian. Jade Costello took over in Chelsea's senior year of soccer. Jade was a wonderful administrator. She and her husband Joe were just a dynamite couple for us to have working with our kids here in town. And they're up in Maine now and have a couple of young ones. And Jade sent this. I think the best way to speak to the impact of Chelsea McAllister is to tell you how I came to write these words late on Thursday night. I happened to be at practice with my 9-year-old, who I used to carry in a front pack on the sidelines of Chelsea's soccer games. That 9-year-old was doing a subpar job of protecting her soccer ball with her body. That's coach speak, 9-year-old, right? I called her over and started to remind her about the importance of shielding the ball. As I lectured, I said, "Dempsey, do you remember Chelsea in Springfield?" To which she responded, "Yes, Mom, you and Daddy talk about her all the time." I said, "Okay, good. Well, one of her greatest assets in soccer was her ability to shield people off the ball, to refuse to let someone push her off that space." The moment Chelsea's name came out of my mouth, Coach Bladika's request came flooding back from the land of forgotten responsibilities, and my next words were, "Oh, shoot." That story is the manifestation of who Chelsea was to me and to this town, a legend. A kid whose name and face and tenacity is so easily brought into focus when we speak about being a competitor. Although her first love was having a round orange ball in her hands, I'm certain her physicality and skill with a ball at her feet could have landed her on a Division I soccer team. Although I only had Chelsea for her senior season, there were dozens of moments that season when my co-coach, who also happened to be my husband Joe, and I would watch Chelsea strike a ball or push through a back line or play a ball out of the air, and we would catch each other's eyes and share an unspoken thought of, wow, this kid is special. I'm both thrilled and unsurprised at the choice to add Chelsea's name to the lore of Cosmos Nation. As my own children step into the first inning of chasing their own sports dreams, I can guarantee her that her name will continue to live on in our home, in our hearts, and in who they aspire to be. And that's from Jade Costello. And Joe Brown, Coach Joe Brown, coached Chelsea in all 4 years in basketball. And Joe sent this. Actually, Joe sent something about this long, but this much of it was about Joe. So those of you that know him will understand. So I took the part about Chelsea, and I'm going to read that tonight. Sorry, Joe. He's probably watching this. It's not the first time that he hasn't agreed with me. Anyway, Chelsea and I, this is from Joe. Chelsea and I joined the SHS girls basketball program the same year, 2011-2012. I knew, heck, the whole town knew, that Chelsea was the real deal. As a freshman, she was one of the most skilled players in the state. Her competitive drive, aggressiveness, and feel for the game was superior. Although she was an extraordinary athlete, she always put in the work to get even better. By the time she was a junior, she was another coach on the court. Chelsea would make plays or make shots that would make you shake your head in amazement. One of the highlights is still ingrained in my mind. Senior year, time was about to expire in a quarter. She went up in the air near midcourt, switched hands in the air to her weak hand, and swished the shot at the buzzer. You remember that, John? You don't? I'm surprised. I bet it's on your stat sheet. And I bet you were there. Yeah. She was special. She was great with kids, a great athlete, a great young lady, and she loved her town. One of the best athletes to ever wear the green and white. And that's from Joe Brown. So to summarize some of Chelsea's accomplishments, I'd like to do that. And this is going to be one of the shorter speeches. See, Chelsea wanted me to take 14 minutes because she doesn't want to come up and talk. And that's okay. I understand that, Chelsea. But I'm not going to take 14 minutes, but everybody's going to be happy that we're one of the shorter ones. So, in basketball, Chelsea was named to the Dream Dozen 3 times. The Dream Dozen is the 12 best underclassmen in the state of Vermont. So you can only be named to it 3 times. Hopefully you're only an underclassman 3 times. She was named to the Dream Dozen all 3 years, freshman, sophomore, and junior. She was voted first team all-league all 4 years. She reached 1,000 points as a junior. She became Springfield High School's all-time leading scorer with 1,677 points by the time her career ended, and that was just surpassed a few weeks ago by Macy Stagner. She played in the North-South Senior All-Star Game, and she went on to a very successful 4-year career at Springfield College. On the soccer field, she was a starting defender as a freshman, moved to striker as a sophomore, and helped the Cosmos to a state championship game appearance. She scored 20 goals as a junior. She was named first or second team all-league all 4 years. She made all-state and played in the Lions Cup soccer game as a senior. On the softball field, she started at third base and hit .392 as a freshman. She was a phenomenal defensive third baseman who literally took the bunt out of play against many opponents for 4 years. Once we had played against a team once and they had tried to lay the bunts down. In Division I and II softball, with good pitching, the bunt is a very important part of the game. When Chelsea was at third base, the amazing quickness of both her hands and her feet, she literally teams just stopped trying to bunt. That was pretty helpful for Mike and I as coaches. It made our job a little easier. She started all 72 games over her 4-year career in softball. And one of the cool things about that is at the same time, we all knew that she was going to college for basketball, and she was playing on a high-level AAU basketball team. And this is a credit to her parents, who are both out here with her tonight. Chelsea played, I believe, 1 year, she played 44 AAU basketball games in the spring on the weekends, and she never missed a softball practice or a softball game. And we sometimes had Sunday evening practices if we had a Monday game, and her family got her back to those practices, and that's, these days that's tough to deal with, and her family was terrific about that, so the support was always there. Over those 72 high school games that she played in softball, she had 86 hits and scored 69 runs in 72 games. She hit .492 in her senior year of 2015 and helped lead us to a state championship game appearance. She made the North-South Senior All-Star Series, and she was voted first team all-league all 4 years. So in case you didn't catch that, Chelsea was voted first team all-league all 4 years in 2 sports, and first team all-league all 4 years, 3 years in soccer. 1 soccer year, she was second team all-league. We give awards in Springfield for a 12-sport athlete. Here's someone who was all-league all 12 times. That's pretty amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, Chelsea McAllister-Fallois.
Hello. I don't like speaking in front of people, so I'm going to go short and sweet.
Neither do I.
Thank you, Andy, for that. Thank you for reaching out to my coaches. That means a lot. I have to thank them throughout the years for helping me shape me who I am and how successful I was on the field and how successful I am off the field. I need to thank my parents for always being there from when I was younger. Sorry, I'm a little emotional. Don't cry. Like Andy said, driving me from practice to game since I was a little kid. Never missing a game from since I was little, coaching me all the way to college. I never missed anything, and I couldn't thank you guys enough. To my brothers, thank you for always being there for me. It truly means a lot. And now to my family, thank you for supporting me. I can't wait to see what our future holds, and our baby girl that's sleeping in the back corner. I can't wait to see what you do. But I just want to say I don't like talking about myself in any way, shape, or form. But Andy did it perfectly. I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you for everyone who set this up. This was amazing. I feel honored to be inducted with so many great people. And thank you.
She's first team in that, too. So don't go anywhere. So Mr. Lavoie has something he would like to present to you.
Your wrap.
This was a basketball game held at home against Windsor, her senior year. Chelsea had a quadruple double. That may not seem like a whole lot to anybody, but that's very rare anywhere in high school. Very, very, very uncommon in college. Probably doesn't happen in WNBA. I have a plaque made special for her by Red House Press, did a wonderful job. I have copies for your mom and dad, and for Adam. Down here, I have a stat sheet of the game for your mom and dad also. When this game was going on, I just couldn't believe it. I just kept writing and writing. I went through two ink pens. It was probably one of the greatest games I ever had in my lifetime. She ended up with 35 points. She had 4 threes, 7 baskets, 9 for 10 from the foul line. Not bad. She had 10 steals, 12 assists, 12 rebounds, and 5 block shots. That was just in one game. I remember sitting at the desk doing my stats, and the team beside us was Rice Memorial came to town, and the coaches were about 3 feet away from the table. And during the course of the game, I never looked at them, but I listened to their conversation. And the coaches were saying, "How do you stop her? They're getting mad. She shouldn't play here. She should play in college." And they were getting angry and angry and angry. And I sit there thinking, I'm gloating. I really didn't know it. But in that game, you got injured at the end. Remember that. Slight injury. And the team Springfield could have probably won that game at the very end. But I have this plaque I would give to you. It gives me great pleasure to give this to you. I have one copy in my office. Your mom and dad will have one also, and Adam will have one. And I would like to have you have this here. You're very welcome.
All right. You notice I got that mic right from you? We had enough jokes. Although I'm going to use both of those, you know that. So when we, early on, I spoke about when we were putting this group together, we were very detailed in how things would get handled. by different committee members. And there was one detail that we voted 3-0 because we didn't give him a vote, that Ed should be the person that handles that detail. But I think tonight, Ed would be very happy to pass that detail along. He'll explain it.
First of all, I want to mention the fact that Jess was a significant part of all of the planning that we did that first year, to the point where we spent 3 meetings at Jerry Jacinski's kitchen table talking about whether or not the letter S should be included in athletic or athletics Hall of Fame. And Jessica, probably because of the obnoxious, unbearable English teacher she had in high school, insisted that the S be included in the title of the organization, Athletics, plural, Hall of Fame.
John LaVoy would have left it off.
So, having spent so much time debating the S, we totally forgot, and I recognized with about 5 minutes to go in the first induction ceremony that we had not included Gloria Springfield on the agenda. So I got to lead Gloria to Springfield. Now, I am more than delighted. First of all, could I just have a show of hands, please? How many retired cheerleaders do we have in the house now? Okay, show of hands, please. Okay, if you're a retired cheerleader, you're being pressed back into service. It's like being in the military. You can be drawn back into service in an emergency situation. That's what this is. Okay, come on, cheerleaders up here. All the cheerleaders. Come on.
See, you spoke it.
Now,
Penny left.
I probably should have asked the question, do you have access to the lyrics to Glory to Springfield, or do you at least remember the song? Are you okay?
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Cheerleaders, start us off. Glory to Springfield.
2, 3. Glory to Springfield. Glory we sing.
Got to stand up to sing the song.
Now all together, let the echoes ring for Springfield. Our team's the winner. We've got the stuff. Rah, rah, rah. We wear the green and white, and that's enough. Hey! Thanks.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming. We hope you enjoyed yourself. If you want to hang around, take any pictures or banners or other things, you're welcome to do so. The bar stays open for a while. Take time talking. Thanks again for coming out tonight.